it's Chef Andrew Forlines here with ChefAF.com. This is another episode of the Chef AF Modern Kitchen podcast, where we cover all the details of the residential kitchen appliance industry. I want to be your guide here in this landscape of appliances, of brands, of technology, of cooking. There's a lot to cover, a lot to get through in this industry, and that so much has changed in such a short amount of time. I'd say in the last decade, there's just been a huge influx of available technology for the home kitchen, a lot of it coming from fine dining restaurants, which is my background. So I can illuminate a bit on how you can use them, how you should think about selecting what is right for you. Today is episode 3 of our beginning series, and this is the Modern Kitchen Appliance Brand Landscape. So we're going to talk a little bit about brands and how they compare to each other. Now, a lot of people come into these showrooms and ask me, Chef Andrew, what's your favorite brand? What's the best? And I really say there's no best brand, there's what's best for you and for your needs and your family and your cooking style. So it's really about kind of taking a step back and looking at the broad view and a big outline of where these brands are. I think every brand has a place in the market. I think every brand has its audience, and it's really about matching you up with what suits your needs best. So the first episode, we kind of covered a bit on the self-identifying your needs as a home cook and as a family, how you're going to use those appliances. You can go to my website, chefaf.com, to download the Appliance Buyer's Guide, which goes through those self-identifying questions and then kind of guides us a little bit on understanding there's a lot of stuff out there that you need to decide if it's the right fit for you. So today, we're gonna go ahead and cover a bit of the landscape in brands, right? Now, I don't like to play favorites. I'm education first. So I wanna let people know what's available and what it can do, and then let them make an informed decision on what suits them best. So it's really about that. So I like to get people to take a step back when they come into the showroom and think about buying large premium appliances or built-in appliances or any of your home kitchen appliances is a bigger purchase, thinking of it like a car shopping as opposed to, say, consumer electronics like you would at a big box store getting handheld devices and those kinds of things. This is going to be a much larger acquisition. Large appliances are the third most expensive expense for a home. It's home, automobile, and then appliances. So put that in terms of the appliance brand landscape. We're going to have our American brands, we're going to have European brands, and we're going to have our Southeast Asian, Korean brands. And all of those are going to be different and all have pros and cons. And then really what we want to look at is the brackets. So good, better, best. In all industries, there's brackets, good, better, best, in quality, performance, and cost, of course. So it's really about finding what you want to spend for and get a return on. When it comes to where you're at, brands specifically, I say people should focus on the technology they want, the performance and the features and functions, and then across brands, they're all competing for the same dollar. So they really are very comparable. And really it's about identifying where in the bracket you want to be. So we'll go ahead and talk a bit about those different brackets. So we're going to want to look at the brackets and think, what's the difference between, say, good, better, best, premium, commodity pieces? A lot of it comes down to the quality. So your quality of parts, which means performance, but also failure rate. So needing replacements or fixes or repairs. You're going to have performance differences. So, a lot of the distinction is stuff we don't really see or think about at first, but oven variance is a big one. So in our ovens, when we set it to, say, 350, that's the average temperature it wants to maintain. It's going to turn on and off. Peaks and valleys, like the home furnace, heating the house. So you'll have high and low temperatures, but it wants to maintain an average of 350 degrees. So the higher end appliances are going to have a more calibrated and a smaller variance, right? So we're talking 5 to 7 degrees above or below what you set it to. Whereas when you look at commodity pieces, you can be 15, 20 degrees variance. So you might have the oven set to 350, it says it's preheated, but it will fluctuate in temperature. So that's one of the distinctions. And you'll notice too, the more expensive ovens are heavier ovens. If you get an entry-level piece and it's a commodity slide-in oven and you jiggle it and it feels flimsy, it's because it doesn't have a lot of density. Thermal density is what holds on to the heat. That's kind of the heat reservoir. So we're gonna heat the walls and the insulation, and then that's gonna replenish the heat inside the oven cavity, where some of the ovens are gonna heat the air, and then as soon as you open the door, all that heat's gonna come out. So it's really not the preheating that I'm worried about, it's about the recapturing of that heat once we do lose it. So your premium ovens are gonna be a thicker, heavier, thermal dense encasing around the oven. Some of the other things to think about maybe too are exhaust, so your filtration. So if something is cooking in there and it's sizzling and there's a little bit of smoke or a little smell coming out, you know, the higher end ovens are gonna have a more comprehensive filtration system. So they're gonna pull that air. A lot of times they pull it through a catalytic converter to burn off of that smell and smoke, so you don't have billowing smoke coming out of an oven if you're roasting something, right? So something to think about too is the entry-level ones are gonna have a little bit more smoke and a little bit more loss of air. They're not gonna be as sealed as a premium oven was gonna be, which maintains our temperature and our air quality. So when we get into specific brands, you know, we do have the brackets, good, better, best. You know, in cars, we've got Toyota, Lexus, Mercedes is above there, right? But we've also got our brand verticals. So we'll have, say GE has at the very top Monogram, then GE Cafe, Profile, and then entry-level GE. And then on the other hand, you've got Whirlpool, which is the other American large manufacturer. KitchenAid is in that. So we have Genair, their premium, then KitchenAid, then Whirlpool, Amana, Maytag, those brands underneath. Then we're gonna have some premium or premium plus brands, which are really your bespoke, small manufacturing, high attention to detail, high quality assurance rates so that there's fewer part failures, you know, and we're talking Sub-Zero Wolf as an American company, and then you have Miele and Gaggenau as a German versions of that. Some of the Korean brands are getting in there. Samsung with purchasing Decor is infusing some of that technology. I think the LG produced Signature Kitchen Suite is a really nice product line with some great features and functions. And so when we think about the brackets, you know, good or the commodity, the mentality is replace, not repair. So we're talking your standard 30-inch ranges, your freestanding refrigerators, in the brands like Maytag, Amana, Frigidaire. Those are going to be kind of our entry level, and you'll also have Samsung, LG, Whirlpool. You know, they have their entry level pieces as well. So you see a lot of that in our big box stores, but also in our retail showrooms like this. We do cover those. But we also cover the premium stuff that the big box stores don't have space for. So when we get into our better, our mid-grade, you know, I think there's kind of two distinctions here. There's mid-grade and mid-grade plus, and then you've got your premium above it. So there's kind of a bracket in between, kind of a half and half, and we'll go over that in a second. So the better, you know, the mid-grade, we're starting to see Bosch, which is part of the Gaggenau Thermador company. Bosch is a very large manufacturer based in Europe, so they're kind of the European equivalent of Whirlpool or GE. In that mid-grade, you're seeing GE Profile, the LG Studio, LG Signature lines. We've got some Samsung pieces in there. And, you know, we'll start seeing, say, Whirlpool and KitchenAid kind of in there as well. KitchenAid, in my mind, would be in the better plus, so right below Genair, which is their premium. So we go into better plus before we get to premium. So, you know, better and better plus are still large scale manufacturing. When we do large scale manufacturing, they're gonna lose a bit of that quality control just because it's such a large production line. Your part checking isn't gonna be as stringent. Yes, they have protocols in place. Yes, they're trying, they have standards that have to be met. But when we look at our premium plus brands, you know, they're having small scale manufacturing. They're doing very low production, which enables them to have more hands-on and more control over the quality. So when we see, our Better Plus brands, still large scale production, but refined touch points, soft close, soft open. We're starting to see a lot of automated cooking creep into that category. I would be comfortable saying Genair and KitchenAid are in there. Genair technically would be above KitchenAid with some advanced features and functions, and a lot of it is more their style, right? And they're identifying their market. Genair is a little more hip, a little more modern, a little more streamlined look. KitchenAid is a little more traditional, right? But I think they're both really fine products. We've got Viking, GE Cafe, Fisher Paykel. Whereas when we get into our premium plus bracket here, we're going to be talking about small scale production, heightened attention to part sourcing, the highest quality performance, precision cooking, elegant touch points. So that's when you're getting a lot of your flush mounting, your touch release, your touch to open kind of features. Then you're also getting a lot of more service on the back end. When you get a premium brand, Sub-Zero Wolf likes to say they're a customer care company that sells appliances, because they're all about that post-purchase relationship, having part availability, having service technicians readily responsive. Their part availability is impressive in that if Sub-Zero Wolf discontinues a product, they're going to make the parts for it for 20 years so that you're able to repair. It's that mid-century production model where we're able to repair and lengthen the product life cycle, so that you're really getting a lot of the benefit in the back end of that life cycle. Yes, the cost is more expensive up front, but you're gonna get a better performance and then also potentially a longer lifespan per cost in the long run if you're not having to replace appliances as frequently. So in our premium plus bracket, we're gonna have Sub-Zero Wolf, which now makes Cove dishwasher their own. Gaggenau, we mentioned earlier, is a German brand. I would also put Thermador, some of their pieces are in there. Thermador is an American brand that was purchased by Gaggenau Bosch, a German brand, and they're starting to infuse a lot of that technology. So some Thermador pieces actually have that premium technology built in because they have different brands they can share features and functions. So you can get a bit of a hybrid. Thermador is still more of an American styling in that it's more traditional looking. It's a little bit chunkier, beefier, more power driven instead of precision driven, which is definitely the European style. So we've got Gaggenau, Miele in there as well. Miele being, they do a lot more mid-market production in Europe. They only import their premium products in America. So we see them in the premium space. I think Miele does a great job with features, functions, performance, and actually has some of the features and functions built in that closest resemble what I'm used to in a commercial kitchen, specifically their steam oven. And we'll get into that in a future episode on steam cooking and steam ovens. We've also got Blue Star. Now, Blue Star is an interesting brand in that they specialize. They're focused on. They're expanding their portfolio for sure, but they started in the gas commercial style range for the home, right? And they actually do have, I would say, the best performing gas burners out there. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they're open style burners. So when we get residential gas burners in the home, what we're used to is a closed system. So that porcelain top underneath the burners, underneath the grates, so that's easier to clean. That is going to regulate the air and the gas flow because they're closed, which means that we're piping in the air and the gas. It really restricts the airflow. So you'll notice the flames bend out, on a burner. A lot of times they flame out because they're leaning towards available oxygen. So they're combusting and then they want to lean out towards the air they can find. And so a closed system, which is what people are used to, makes it a little bit easier to clean, restricts the air. Now here in Colorado, that really impacts our performance because the higher we get in elevation, the less oxygen there is, so the gas actually burns at a lower rate. What Blue Star does is they do that true cast iron full burner assembly. So it's a cast iron grate, it's a cast iron burner with the pipe lead of gas to a cast iron burner. So it's gonna look a bit more commercial. And then Underneath will be a drip tray or a catch tray like we're used to in restaurants, where you will pull that out and you'll clean the tray, everything that drips through. What's nice about the cast iron is that it's going to burn off a lot of any food or messes. So yes, you'll get a bit of a patina, you'll get the used look, but it's that commercial cast iron that can be burned off. You can bake them and char off food, or you can just leave the burners on a little bit and heat everything up. That's what we do in restaurants. And then we're talking also about the premium Korean brand. So I would say the Signature Kitchen Suite, which is by LG, has some really great performance. They have some real interesting features and functions in that they have a steam oven in a range. They've got the 48-inch range that has a convection oven, steam oven, induction burners, gas burners, and a sous vide cooking induction well. So that's really the everything range, which means you don't have to give up gas if you were to try to get some induction. So you can have a little bit of both. I would say Decor now, being part of Samsung, would be in here as our premium, a premium brand. They do a lot of really great technology, automation, touchscreen oven, interactions, and that kind of thing. You're gonna just wanna ask yourself a little bit of, what features and functions do you want? How much automation? The more you spend, yes, the more precise, the more quality performance, then also some of your touch points. If you go high enough, then we're not seeing a return on the costs except for maybe super refined touch points and interface interaction, and then also the customer care and the post-purchase relationship is really what takes a big boost there as well. Something to consider, personally, because I'm a chef, I always have my kitchen a little bit outsizing the house, because I'm gonna get an immediate return of quality of life improvement with cooking daily on these appliances. So, I want to have that experiential kind of cooking at home. I want to have that quality food. I want to bring people together. So if you are that kind of social and gourmet kind of person, you're going to want to consider spending maybe up a bracket to get some more return on that, without going so high that your return would be name recognition in essence. So I hope that was a bit helpful. Some of the things to think about with the brands, and when you're choosing, not just looking at the sticker price, think of that post-purchase relationship. Think of part availability. Think of certified technicians. So brands that are newer in the market, and if they overlook this, maybe they don't have as many technicians out there that you can call when there's a part that needs to be replaced. So some of the brands really invest in having that infrastructure in place. Depends where you are in the country, in the world, what service technicians, what brand is really, got that in that market. Here in Colorado, some of the smaller brands aren't going to have as many technicians up, say, in Vail and Aspen. So getting someone up there to help service your product may be a little bit harder. And then part availability is another thing. Obviously, the domestic American brands are going to have more parts closer by. And then some of the foreign brands, are creating those pipelines for those parts, but they may not be completely there or established depending on how old their brand is. So those are things to consider and to ask your sales rep at your specialized appliance retailer about. Let me just say thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful to you in your journey in your home kitchen project. You can always reach out to me at chefaf.com, where there are free webinars on technology and appliance knowledge. And then there's also consultations that you can book me for to help privately, one-on-one with you on your specific project, and to pick my brain on where you fit into the landscape of brands and where you fit in on technology utilization, which will be our next episode in this series of the Chef AF Modern Kitchen podcast. So thanks a lot for listening, and I will see you next time.